All right, hopefully we should be live.
Says it.
Right on time, too. Somebody was giving me a hard time last week. Who was that, Pete?
I don't remember, but all I remember is telling him these things happen.
Yeah, he was. He reminded me that I was 49 minutes late on the podcast.
49? What are you doing?
Well, so like I originally set it for, I think, like 9:30, and then I changed it to like 10:15.
And then it just kept getting pushed back.
When I first made the live stream, I set it at 9:30 instead of 10:15.
I am some guy on his Discord and contributor, but no video at the moment.
All right, let's see. We've got 22 people in the live chat. We've got some watchers here, guys. We have. Let's just do the whole shout outs. Let's just go through that. All right, we've got Gary Nichols in the house. Glad you could be here, my friend. Always. D. Nunez says, "What's new?" D, good to have you. I think we'll cover what's new. Sebastian is here. Glad you could make it. Heath is in the house. And Oscar kind of tops things off. So we've got, it says 25. The room is filling up fast. Let me go ahead and introduce the guys. We've got Pete, who has been on my podcast several times. And Pete, go ahead and say hello to the crew.
Hello, all. Sorry if I didn't say hi as well to the chat, but Sneed did a pretty good job at that.
Yeah, Pete's here. Hi, John. We had you on Monday too. Also, you've been pretty busy here.
Yeah, pretty not busy on my end.
And then we have Dave B from Dave B's Tech is in the house. Go ahead, buddy.
Good evening, everybody, and good evening to the chat. Good evening, Steve, Sneed, and Pete. Why did I call you Steve? Wow.
You know what? I've been called Steve before.
You can call yourself anything you want. Just don't call you late for dinner, right?
Yeah, right, man. Dave, I wanted to ask you, since you're here, how is the new channel, man?
It's going good. I got to talk with some hams from the UK, and we had a lot of fun. And he gave me a couple of subscribers. He told his people to subscribe, and got 35 of them now. So nice. Hopefully I can be entertaining.
Awesome. Caught your last couple of videos. They were pretty good. I like the one on the most recent upload when you were managing the radio
with the satellites.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun doing that.
But like, to be honest with you, man, it's like foreign language to me. I mean, you're just kind of like giving off all those letters and all those names, and I'm just like, what is going on right now?
Yeah, and I guess I should have explained it better. But you only have like 10 minutes or so to work those satellites. Like that one was an 11-minute pass, and since I've got buildings in the area, I've got even shorter time.
Gotcha. And then I think the one before was the one about the Huawei Band.
Yeah.
Oh, that was awesome. Which actually kind of, I thought about it. I'm like, well, maybe I should probably cover that on the YouTube channel. We'll hit it on the podcast. And Rafael Perez over here on the channel, he asked for it too. So I was like, let's just go ahead and do the same thing. We'll get it covered. So some more people popping in the chat. EV1 says, who is Pete? Pete is the guy who is not visually here. He's only here in spirit, and you can hear his voice. Let's see here.
Oh, you'll see me in a minute or two.
Okay, gotcha. Raphael is in the house. Glad you could be here, buddy. Matt Wilson is here. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you? Let's see here. Captain MC says, what up, Sneed? What's going on, bud? Jason's in the house. John is in the house. Emiliano is in the house. John M is here. Yeah, we got a lot. D-Gaff is here. Glad you could be here, buddy. Road to Nowhere is here. Yeah, we got a lot. There's 32 people in the chat. Now, Pete, we hit a personal record on Monday.
Oh yeah, what was it, like 92?
We got to 93 members in the live chat. 93 people watching.
Was that including me?
I couldn't tell you. I don't get like a breakdown like that, like if the members are being counted or not. But
It's gonna take like
it was
50
excellent. It was
minutes.
really good, Dave. Who knows? Maybe we might hit it off tonight with something similar. But I really wanted to get to 100. We didn't get to the 100, but hey, it'll be our goal for the next one, maybe.
Hey, John Phillips, glad to have you here.
John's in the house. I think that's most of the usuals. I don't think we're missing any of the usuals. People are already talking in the chat about the merger. People are talking about, I think somebody mentioned the Huawei Band in there somewhere.
Yep.
John says that we had over 100.
So does Matt.
I mean, it's kind of like instantaneous, so maybe it did happen. Raphael says, hit the like button. Yeah, definitely hit the like button. Raphael's the boss. You got to listen to the boss. Anthony's here. Paul is here. JG Tech Blog is in the house. JG, thanks for being here, buddy. Big shout out to JG. And Harold is here. All right, so that's a lot. We've got some people in the live chat. Everybody they're in the chatty mood, which is good. All right, so what we're going to do is with today's podcast is we've got a set of topics that we're going to go over. Of course, discuss them within the live chat. We'll kind of pop in. Pete's going to be playing moderator a bit. He'll kind of be managing what's going on in the live chat, bringing it up. And then we'll kind of do the usual banter back and forth, just kind of like the talking heads here of tech. So topics for tonight. It is Sunday, May 26, 2019. Officially, this is the start of the Sneed Mobile Tech Podcast. We're treating this edition like a week review. We're going to talk about all the things that happened this week, as well as a couple of things that have happened in the last 48 hours that we, just caught wind of, and we wanted to bring it up because, of course, it has to do with the merger. We've got stuff from the merger. We've got stuff from AT&T, and we'll talk about Huawei, and then we'll kind of cap things off with Sprint. All right, so first topic is the State of Pennsylvania's Public Utility Commission is offering their approval for the Sprint and T-Mobile merger. They voted 3-2 in favor for the merger. I guess the importance of this particular vote is that there are 19 required state public utility commissions that are required to pass any type of merger for approval. That puts it at 17 of the 19. So that puts it really, really close. There are 2 states left, California and Hawaii. No decision from them yet. So not that they said no or yes, it's that we just haven't gotten any decision from them. So it looks like the state of Pennsylvania is pro 5G. There's a couple of quotes from their commissioner, Andy Place. He's really, really excited about the proponents of 5G. He really likes the idea of getting it deployed very quickly, expeditiously. 67 counties in the state of Pennsylvania, and they all want 5G. So it looks like that's kind of the icing on the cake for this. I don't know what you think about this, Pete. I'll kind of start with you. Pennsylvania is a pretty big politics state.
Oh, right? Yeah, they're a swing state. I guess you could call them purple.
Mm-hmm.
So you got a good mix of conservative leaning and progressive leaning people there. And quite frankly, I've spent a fair bit of time in Pennsylvania within the past decade. I'm hoping that this one increases the Sprint customer service access, and of course the T-Mobile customer service access. When I started looking at wireless in Pennsylvania, could get Edge or 1X or 3G on Sprint like throughout the entire state. but now there are only pockets along like Philadelphia and Scranton and Pittsburgh, like the bigger cities, where you can get a good, reliable T-Mobile connection, and Sprint seems kind of iffy still. So hopefully they're looking at it as a third competitor in their wireless market.
Now, I'm not going to pretend like I'm some kind of master of knowledge when it comes to these commissions. I actually had no idea that you had to pass with 19 states. So, in terms of this news coming from the Pennsylvania Utilities Commission, it was new to me. I didn't even know about the procedure. So, knowing that the merger is so close, we're at 17 out of 19 states. I think kind of the onus now being on Hawaii and California. I think California is good to go. I think they're going to okay and approve of this merger. I don't know much about Hawaii.
If T-Mobile could prove that if the first responders could get on their network, they won't ever be deprioritized, it might be an easy sell.
Well, Dave, go ahead and chime in. What do you think about these news? I mean, it's kind of out of nowhere. I mean, we didn't catch any wind from any other commissions. So, again, like I said, this is news to me, but do you think this is substantial? You think it's something to report?
I feel like I did hear about one other commission. I thought it was New York or something. I'm just wondering if California or Hawaii does not approve this, if is it the SEC or the FCC? Can someone override that? Because if the SEC and the FCC approve and 18 out of the 19 approve, is that enough to say that, okay, the 19th is just being ridiculous and to go ahead and approve it? Or can that be overruled? Or is that a complete stop, don't pass go, don't collect $200?
I think the FCC, well, all right, so here's the way these things are structured. The DOJ has one antitrust chief, and it's McCann Del Rahim, that guy. He can actually override whatever the DOJ wants. And Pete, I think you're pretty well aware of this, right?
Yep.
So if the lawyers from the DOJ want to sue and block the merger, and all of the members of the antitrust, with the exception of the chair, as long as the chair wants to approve it, he can.
He's the only. I was listening to a Bloomberg video regarding this earlier today. The chair is the only person on the committee or council there for that type of stuff who gets to say anything based, relevant to the situation.
So T-Mobile and Sprint, they just have to get the blessing of that guy, Del Rahim.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has their price, and if they really want it, they could probably give them an island off France.
So, Dave, I think what this boils down to is there's blessings from these commissions that if the FCC was to say, wow, 15 out of the 19 states deny approval or don't want the merger, then the FCC would operate in their best interest and say, okay, we're not going through with it. But again, it looks like the chair, Ajit Pai, he's gung-ho. He's all for the merger, and maybe this is just nice to have. Maybe it's all just kind of for show. So I'm not sure if there would be any type of block or anything like that.
Well, I have my own personal opinions about Ajit Pai personally, but if he's going to say that he approves of this merger, that's a good thing that he's doing it, in my opinion anyway.
I've never had a good opinion of him personally.
Exactly, especially with the whole net neutrality mess.
I've hated him since he worked for Verizon.
Yeah, he was a big-time lawyer for Verizon.
I think he helped with some of their lobbying.
Well, just think about it this way. If he truly, if this whole net neutrality thing is to be believed, and California, the first responders were throttled, then T-Mobile might be able to indirectly say that Ajit Pai caused the merger or whatever to be approved by California.
Pete, go ahead and filter through some of the live chat as we move forward here with this topic.
Oh, I've been talking with them with the little questions they've been asking and whatnot.
So what's the pulse of the people? What are they saying there on this topic?
A lot of them seem pro-merger. We got John M. being a little confused over which states are the 19. And I'm not sure about the other two here, but I didn't know about the 19 thing until I read that Pennsylvania article.
You know, I looked into it. I checked a couple of sources. The number 19 just kept coming up, and currently the merger's approval stands at 17 out of 19.
Damon,
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what the other states are that approved. I don't know what the missing states are in terms of who doesn't get to vote on this. Maybe it's just there's 19 states with a commission.
Yeah, Damon Follier, if Sprint goes under, chances are that the spectrum would be sold at a bankruptcy auction to pay off their banks.
And Verizon would end up with some of that. AT&T would end up with some of that. T-Mobile would end up with a little bit.
See,
whatever they can afford or care to get.
Well,
Verizon,
I mean, who's got more operating revenue than Verizon?
Comcast.
Okay. All right, you want to throw in cable, dish, right?
Yeah, they could.
They're working on their phone systems as well. So if they don't have to pay Verizon for bandwidth.
Now, this particular announcement from the Pennsylvania Public Utility Commission, I was actually going to make a video. Like, I was going to do an entirely separate update, but I just wanted to sneak it in here because I think we're going to get some news from the DOJ this week. Personally, I'm sensing. I don't know about you guys, but I expect something this week, and I expect something final the first week of June. I just can't see it taking longer than that. Next piece of news. 5G is live in the UK. I don't know the United Kingdom carriers very well. They're wireless providers. I mean, some of them sound familiar, like Vodafone. I've seen that a couple of times.
Vodafone even operates in Australia. Let's see, Italy. They're more worldwide than Deutsche Telekom.
Well, it's interesting you brought some of those countries up. So they're going to have 6 cities with 5G starting on May 30th. Manchester, London, Liverpool. I mean, I'm not like Mr. International by any means, but I know those are some pretty big cities in the UK. What's interesting about this announcement, which, again, the 5G networks are ready as of May 30th, 5G roaming is going to be included in this. So people that have the Vodafone service will also be able to use it in Italy, Germany, and Spain. And it's included in their plan.
Not France as well?
I'm not sure. I just saw those 3 countries were named.
Is this 5G like actual like citywide 5G, or is this Verizon and Chicago 5G?
I don't think there's any other carrier in the world doing what Verizon did. I really don't. Because something tells me that these countries have been preparing for 5G. They've allocated the spectrum, and I think they've got a much more substantial deployment.
There is a chance that some of the countries that are jumping ahead on 5G are doing something that was initially proposed in the US. That being the government develops the spectrum and the carriers, primary and secondary, may be able to lease it from the government.
So it's semi-centralized?
Yeah.
Well, that's why they're jumping so far ahead.
Because we definitely need a JitPi running our telecom network.
I mean, we got to draw the line somewhere. We need somebody else to run it, obviously. But I think what's interesting about this announcement, it's not that they have 5G, it's how they're doing it. I think that roaming piece is really nice. They're going to be providing service in 5G to smartphones as well as hotspots. They're going to have some hotspot pieces of hardware. Now, here's the best part. We've talked about pricing several times throughout the podcast. There are no price changes on any plans. If you have a 5G device, you will have access to their 5G network. There's no $10 add-on like Verizon. There's no tiered pricing like what AT&T is going to do. None of that. No separate plan, nothing. It's, hey, you got a 5G device, the 5G is available for you to use. It's built into the infrastructure costs and the investment and the expenditure of the network, which is so refreshing. Dave, what do you think of that?
I'm just curious as to how they're going to recoup that revenue. I mean, putting up those devices isn't free. So is the government eating it, or who's paying for it? Because somebody's got to pay for it somewhere. Are they raising taxes on the citizens and like by a cent or something like that, and pretending it's
England, they do have a tax on it, all their paychecks for telecommunication upgrade and deployment.
Well, if that's the case, that might have been the accelerator of this.
Partially goes to the BBC. Family Dad was wondering if we could enumerate the benefits of the merger for anyone using the networks or not using the network.
So in terms of how the merger is going to help consumers in networks?
Yeah.
All right, so here's what the merger is going to do. The merger pretty much ensures that we're going to have a nationwide deployment of 5G. I don't know, at a rate of what, 85 to 95% deployment nationwide?
Yep.
It's going to give people in rural America some coverage that they haven't had. It's going to give people a new internet option, a new TV option nationwide. It's going to fill coverage gaps. I mean, obviously, LTE is still going to be built out. It's not going to be 5G on every corner. It's going to be, 5G in major places and then building out LTE. I mean, you've got to think about the spectrum that T-Mobile is going to be getting out of this deal. And, you think about all the redundant hardware that they could relocate and put strategically in new places to give people coverage.
The 4G LTE spectrum T-Mobile is currently building out. Like, I was taking advantage of their Band 66 in Rocky Mountain National Park today. That's going to be their 5G backbone. So if I do not have a 5G device with them, I would be getting 5G benefits because my phone gets those bands.
Were you getting band 66 or were you getting band 4 that's been ID'd as band 66? Because from what I understand, T-Mobile only owns band 66 in a very small portion of the U.S. And they just say band 4 is 66.
This seemed to have been legitimately band 66 because the app I use goes by the frequency, not the call band.
I was going to say, most of the times when I see people speaking of band 66, it's the AWS application of band 4. It's that extension band.
It did not have an AWS on it.
All right, there you go.
And I uploaded some 4K pictures to the Discord on it.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You did. Yesterday the Discord was interesting. We started uploading photos, and if you've got 4K photos and you've got 4K video, I mean, there's another thing of what the merger can do. It can provide capacity on a network that, I mean, certainly now we could say probably more than ever, T-Mobile's actually experiencing congestion issues.
Yep.
And we've never seen T-Mobile with congestion issues over the course of the last 5 to 6 years. This is something new. These are the growing pains of a network. They're at 80 million subs now. And there are some cities across the nation where T-Mobile is a favorite, and there are a lot of people, on the network. So the merger is going to help those markets tremendously. They'll be the first cities to get 5G. So yeah, I think that probably answers the question. Go ahead, Dave.
That, and with Neville Ray being in charge of 2.5 gig with Sprint, I know that they'll fix those capacity issues real fast because Neville Ray knows how to put out spectrum. Look what he's done with the bands, with the band 71 rollout and with the band 12 rollout.
I'm impressed by the band 71 rollout. He really seems to have a good pulse of how the network needs to perform in some of these more, these more sensitive areas. There are a number of people on the Discord that have, shared screenshots and posted, all the different speed tests and the different bands they're connected to. And although they may not be the fastest speeds, we are seeing adequate coverage in a lot of isolated areas in like rural Georgia, Southern California. I don't know. Some of the members on the Discord, I think, are there in Texas. So
3 or 4 of them are in Texas.
And, we're seeing screenshots and we're seeing speed tests that are pretty good. And some of them aren't even on T-Mobile proper. They're actually utilizing Metro services. So that means they're probably the first ones to be managed, so their speeds are going to be deprioritized at times. So I just thought that was an interesting story to share. Again, another thing that I didn't think deserved an actual video, but deserved to mention. We've got several countries across the world that are already going ahead and deploy their 5G, and they're doing it quickly. And I think they're probably doing it better than what we have going on here. But the end of 2019 in the U.S. will be very different than the beginning, for sure.
So, John M., what will happen when you leave the 5G service areas and then drop down to 4G LTE? On T-Mobile, they want it so you are using the most advanced LTE you can possibly use at that point. 4x4 MIMO and the 256 QAM. It's what I'm using right now to get like 100 plus megasecond downloads in city center.
Well, the theoretical yield on LTE is almost a gig.
Yeah, you will. You'll notice some latency increase, but for most applications, it will be unnoticeable.
And that's the thing. Like when we talk about 5G, it's not just the speeds; it's the fact that your speeds will never drop tremendously. Like you're always going to have enough bandwidth, and your latency is going to be very, very low. Which instant connectivity is very valuable if you're a gamer, if you're running in a type of autonomous equipment. You want that instantaneous connectivity and you want it to be reliable. And I think that's what 5G offers.
The autonomous vehicle actually has its own partitioned off 5G spectrum.
Oh, so they get their own little slice, right?
It's called the IoT spectrum. It's used for medical devices and things you don't want lagging.
What's the gigahertz band on it? I forget the number.
I just read over it and
I don't know. Was it sub 6 or 24? I forget the gigahertz band.
24 sounds about right.
Okay.
But I put a publication regarding using that frequency for autonomous vehicles exclusively into a European standards agency for it, and it was put in there as a footnote. So we may be dealing with special frequencies for cars.
Which is fine. They get their own little piece. I don't know if, Dave, if there's something like in terms of application of 5G that you'd like to get that kind of special treatment besides vehicles. Do you think there's anything else that probably requires that?
I think that it would take a very, very small amount of bandwidth, but another thing that I think 5G will be good for is medical devices like your Apple Watches or like implanted like blood sugar monitors and stuff like that automatically transmit data to your doctor or your approved health provider.
They don't do that yet.
Not yet, but I think they will. That's what I've heard.
I'm working on it.
Yeah, I could also see maybe like, you think about the medical equipment, even like while doing any type of like endoscopy, where you're sending camera technology into somebody's body and get like an instant feed, instead of it being just what you can monitor on a monitor, it could be recorded and sent remotely somewhere else for another doctor to view. So communication between like the Cleveland Clinic and then another hospital somewhere else in the world, like you could have that. That's possible. So yeah,
I'm just worried that 5G could also be used like nobody's business to track us and spy on us. Like we have that problem now with LTE, and I can just imagine how much worse that could possibly get with 5G. Instant access to any camera in the entire United States on anybody's phones or laptops.
well, I think that's going to be a measure of security. How well are we going to secure our networks? How well are we going to check for backdoors, check for security flaws in operating software and hardware? We're going to get to Huawei in a minute, but I think along those same lines, I mean, I've never known, like, I understand that LTE is not the most secure connection, but how does 5G compare to it? I don't know.
Oh, I didn't mean by outside intruders, although you do have a point there.
Well, I'm saying like that's one thing, and then you're talking about internally amongst citizens, hackers and things like that.
The outside intruder concern with 5G is something I'm trying to expand one of my research fellowships to look into.
So is 5G more secure than LTE? Because when we look at networks evolving, the newer technology should be more secure because security becomes a premium. I mean, you could imagine bank tellers and all these different applications, they have to be secure.
Well, the problem is that all of this technology, 5G and 4G and 3G and banking and everything else is built on top of IPv4, which inherently wasn't designed to be secure, or even IPv6. They're not inherently designed to be secure. So you still have that problem.
IPv6 has some authentication baked into it.
Okay, cool.
Well, that's what we need is moving forward with these new networks is, I mean, security is as important as the actual operation, right? And actually, I mean, you can't, if you're going to be running 5G, say, for example, there's instantaneous betting. Somebody is at a horse race and they're going to put in their bet like right away, connecting to a 5G node, right? So it's through their smartphone. Or they're at a game and it's halftime and they could set a bet for the second half score. I mean, there's money transactions in there, like with these like a betting application.
Has sport betting been legalized in Ohio too?
Not officially.
It's been legalized in Colorado and there's a tax applied to it.
Well, that's how you know it's been. You start paying taxes on it, it's real.
Yeah, when something's been taxed, it's legal.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot that's going to be changing. I mean, and 5G is going to open up a lot of doors to a lot of different things. We're going to talk about security again here as we bring up Huawei later. Let's go ahead and transition to the next piece of news, Sprint 5G news. So we all know that Sprint's tied up in this merger, and sometimes these types of announcements get overlooked. For those of you there in the live chat, those watching and members of the Patreon that support Sneed Mobile Tech on Patreon, you probably already knew about this. Sprint is releasing 2 devices that are going to be 5G compatible. The first is an HTC-made 5G hub, which essentially is a piece of hardware that's going to serve as a hotspot that's compatible with 5G. And then we have the LG-made V50 ThinQ, which is a smartphone. It's a flagship smartphone. It's probably very, very nice. I haven't really seen it yet. In terms of pricing, the LG V50 ThinQ is coming in at $1,100, a little bit more. It's $1,160, so $1,160. Or you could do the Sprint Flex lease at 18 months at $25 a month for the phone. And the HTC-made 5G hub is coming in at $12.50 a month. I think the overall price for that hub is like $400, something like that. Yeah, it's kind of pricey, but not that bad. We know that the 5G Samsung Galaxy S10 is coming in at $1,300. Verizon does have an exclusive to that for now, but all the other carriers are going to be getting it later on this year. I would expect it sometime, either late summer, early fall. The HTC-made 5G hub is just basically like a hotspot, so nothing special about that device. Pricing, $60 for the hub for the service, $60 a month, 100 gig data cap. So you're only getting 100 gigs for $60, and then it slows you down to 2G after that. And then the phone is $80 per month for the service. You get 100 gigs of data at 5G, and then it slows you down to 3G. And of course, we've got a limited market basis there. There's only going to be like a dozen or so cities by the end of this year.
3 at the moment.
That's what we know about this. Dave, why don't you lead us off? What do you think about those devices and their prices? What do you think about the plan pricing? The phone's $80 a month for the service. The hub is $60 a month for the service. Both cap at 100 gigs of data. The hub slows down to 2G after that, and then the phone slows down to 3G after that.
So I think 2G is unacceptable in today's world. That is absolutely unacceptable. 3G, okay, I can understand that. The prices I think are all right. $60 for the hub and the $80 for the phone. I think that's a little high for the phone, but I'm not totally sure. And I would think you'd be using the hub more because of the fact that you'd be using Wi-Fi on the hub and connecting your laptops and stuff like that.
Right.
You're going to be watching Netflix on your phone, but you're probably going to be watching it at 1080p or something like that.
Or higher. You can, if it's a 4K.
And that's true, but I mean, the amount of data a computer uses versus the amount of data that a phone uses is still pretty negligible. I mean, you've got software like system updates on a computer, and you've got all this background stuff that's used to running over Wi-Fi network without any kind of like data like caps or throttles or anything. So I would think that the hub actually should cost more than the phone. My only concern is Sprint LTE works as long as you don't walk inside a building. Sprint 5G probably works as long as it's not cloudy.
Pete, go ahead.
So I'm thinking like, Sprint going to 2G on their hotspot puck once you've used 100 gigs. Is that because they have 2G networks hiding everywhere in the country?
I don't understand how a hub designed to connect several devices, right? 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. It's 5G. The speeds are going to be fast. How are you going to slow people down to 2G?
I mean, T-Mobile has hotspots and home broadband offerings, and they don't even have a data cap. And since they're not going to be changing the frequencies or the antennas when they roll into 5G for those devices, you'll most likely be on 5G or 5G E++, and benefiting with unlimited data and fast downloads.
I just don't understand how the hub could be at 2G and the phone's at 3G. It's incredible. I mean, if you're going to be throttling, you might as well just do them both 3G, right?
I would think so.
I'm going to say the reason why the phone's expensive, by the way, is you're allowed to make phone calls on their CDMA network using it.
Yeah, but why is there no mention of LTE in there? Like they're just like, you can't use LTE if you're on the phone? I don't understand.
It's because the bandwidth Sprint is using for 5G does not have LTE compatibility, but the ranges 2G and 3G are supposed to be getting cannibalized by 5G.
See, this is why I don't think Sprint endears themselves to anybody that understands like network performance. I mean, Mark Kelleher's in the chat. He's saying, why does everybody bash Sprint? I mean, they're always in 3G. Their network doesn't perform. Dave, go ahead.
Phone calls being put at a premium. Okay, the phone being more expensive than the hotspot. I don't see the thing behind that. That would almost, that would be basically the equivalent of Verizon saying you get unlimited text messages, 2 gigs of data, and phone calls are 15 cents a minute or something like that. It's a phone call. It's 2020, almost 2020.
Yeah,
phone calls should be included.
You're right, and You know what, Pete? I agree with you on a couple things. The pricing isn't, or no, Dave, you were talking about the pricing. The pricing's not bad. $80 a month to get an unlimited LTE plan, and then you're also getting 5G as an add-on, kind of. $80 a month ain't bad. I mean, there's probably several people in the live chat right now who are paying at least $70 to $80 a month just for the unlimited LTE, and they're being capped at 720p video res. So the pricing's not bad. I just don't get the 100 gig limitation. It's 5G.
You should have that's
100 gig.
You definitely should not have the congestion limits on 5G to implement a data cap. When you have ultra low latency data, you're not having data being constantly pushed through the air for one person.
Something tells me that the reason they're putting a 100 gig cap on it is in their field testing, they've seen the network slow tremendously. Like maybe they're starting at 500, 600 megs per second, and then you get a few phones or whatever devices connected, and it's dropping to like 150. You know, maybe they're just trying to get people to be mindful to watch their data. I don't know.
Or maybe they should find a way to bolster their network.
They know how to bolster their network. They're just choosing not to. And there it lies the issue, Mr. Kelleher. The problem is that Sprint will not invest in the acceleration and the changes that they need to make in their network. SoftBank just, they're not spending their money right. They don't have the right people in there. Like we've talked about this before. I'm sick of bashing, honestly, but like everything's been awful for them the whole LTE era.
You're bringing SoftBank into this. They're a Japanese firm that works with like 100 megahertz range CDMA in Japan with really close together cell sites. The US's way of deploying cellular network technology is the polar opposite of Japan's.
Japan's the size of what, 3 states?
You can fit like 15 Japans in California.
15 Japans in California.
So that's why they got 2.5 gigahertz, and they didn't really, I guess, realize that the US is not conducive to 2.5 unless you're willing to put a bunch of money into it, because if 15 Japans can fit in the state of California, then imagine how many of them can fit in the US entirely. And they want to cover that entire area with 2.5. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, you have no electricity in the middle of Death Valley to do the tower every like kilometer.
Well, have you guys ever seen like the international reports of which countries have the fastest LTE and connections?
And the US isn't even near the top.
We're never even close.
I think we're number 16.
Maybe. But like the problem is, and we probably have the most network investment. But we have a lot of users, right? We're not a nation that doesn't have a lot of wealth. A lot of people have smartphones and are connected to a data network. But the problem is the actual footprint of the country. It's massive. So you've got a country like Japan who just has to connect LTE and 5G to, I don't know, 50 counties or something like that, essentially. You know, it'd be easier to do.
Prefectures.
Yeah, I mean, it's just easier to do. It's the same thing with like, I think the Philippines or Malaysia, one of those countries has like top 2 connectivity speeds in the world. Small.
Malaysia.
Is it Malaysia?
When you're not in the archipelago, yeah.
So, I mean, it's hard. It's one of the problems that we have. Our footprint here is so extended. It's hard to build good networks when it comes to coverage and get rural areas covered. And when we travel, we complain that we're in 3G and 2G and whatnot.
I'm fine as long as I can get a phone call in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all you need is one what is that, Edge?
Go to the house I used to live in.
5G, but yeah.
Go to the house I used to live in. The only time you could even get a phone call out there, it was on AT&T. and it's when the planets and the sun all aligned properly, and the sky was blue.
Oh my God, man! Yeah, talk about like just some luck.
In my city, you can get AT&T when you're in the middle of the city, but if you enter a building anywhere, it's gone.
Yeah, we've got some stuff going on in the live chat.
Yeah, you get some Wi-Fi and you can make a phone call.
Let's see here. Noel says Canada gets blazing fast 4G LTE because Canada probably is building out in just a few provinces.
Canada's also one of the most expensive countries in the world for services, for what I understand, too.
Don't they have like 43% tax rate federal? This is something incredible. Like they have like atrocious tax rates.
But they're happier and they have roughly the same, if not better, standard of living than the U.S.
Well, I mean, we're not going to get into that. I mean, obviously things are a little bit different here, but
Yeah.
I mean, their investment in their network is not covering the same footprint of the U.S. I mean, we're going each corner of the country.
Canada, you get a few major cities and you get the outliers, but when you're in a major city, I was talking with a client who relocated to Calgary yesterday, and he's like, the Wi-Fi is faster. They say 40 megs, you get 40 megs, not the 22 meg stuff here, and their mobile service, solid, reliable, and quick.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
what do you want better than that? That's what it's for.
If I'm going to relocate, it's not going to be to Canada.
A little cold over there for too much of the year.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to relocate to Norway, #1 in happiness.
I've heard that before.
Hats off to you.
And I can get my same gig internet connection in Norway for roughly the same price.
Well, if I'm going to move somewhere, it's going to be somewhere a little bit more tropical, man. I need to drop the latitude a little bit. Norway.
I'm just going to get rid of my cell phone service entirely and buy SpaceX's internet, the little pizza pie thing, and put it on top and put it on my head and walk around with it.
And for those of you that don't know what Dave's talking about, there's he did a video. If you guys want to go check out Dave B's Tech on YouTube, did a video covering an update on this SpaceX technology. They're going to be doing Wi-Fi through satellite, and it's going to be pretty good. It's supposed to perform. What was the theoretical speeds on that, Dave?
Well, each satellite is capable of providing up to, I think it was a terabit per second.
So by the time it transmits down to Earth, what are we talking?
Probably per user, something in the range of a couple hundred megs, but the latency is supposed to be really low, because that's the main problem with geostationary areas, that they're so high up that you get 80, 90 milliseconds of latency. They're talking 20, 30 milliseconds, so about the same as LTE is now.
Well, that would be pretty nice. I think depending on the pricing, there are some people out there who could utilize that service. You know, they're stuck with companies like HughesNet.
If the pricing is good, that would be totally worth it, especially for rural.
Well, for sure, man. That gives them an option, something that rural areas sorely need.
And you're subsidizing humanity's expansion to other planets, because that's what they're going to use part of the revenues for, is to help build their rockets. And you're subsidizing people in sub-Saharan Africa who have never had the internet access before. So
that is interesting. I mean, there's going to be a lot of countries now connected that never were.
Mm-hmm. It's good for the human race entirely, and you're doing good for other people as well. So you can go to sleep satisfied with that at night.
All right. Sad news. Oh, go ahead, Pete.
No, well, technically rural America is getting a fair bit of 5G at the moment. The Band 71 on T-Mobile's the backbone, and I've been getting it more and more places in rural America when I have to travel.
I mean, T-Mobile's doing some good things with their expansion. I mean, they're really approaching rural America more seriously than some of the other carriers. Sprint really done much. You know, Verizon has been just gobbling up, regional carriers over the course of the last 10 years. 15 years maybe.
What's up, Marty?
Let's see what else is here. Oh, yeah. On to some sad news. I always hate reporting this. This really bothers me. For those of you that know and you've been following me for a long time, I always report on this because I think it's important. One, it's important for the U.S. economy, but just in general, I think it really hurts. You know, you think about people that have families and jobs. So AT&T has officially cut over 23,000 jobs as of Q1 of 2019. So this follows their reports on their Q1 earnings. I guess things weren't looking too good, and they went ahead and they cut over 23,000 jobs. I think it was like 23.5. After lobbying for a tax cut at the end of 2017 and saying that they were going to add 7,000 jobs, AT&T has officially cut 23,000. There's a $1 billion investment in job creation that they received in aid from the government. The jobs that they were supposed to create, AT&T has said that they were going to be paying $70,000 to $80,000 annually. President Trump passed the tax cut for AT&T, and what I understand, it generated $3 billion in total revenue in tax relief, and AT&T paid no cash income tax in 2018. So overall, in 2016, AT&T cut 10,000 jobs. In 2017, they cut another 10,000 jobs. And here they are in Q1 of 2019. They have cut another 23,000 jobs. Meanwhile, AT&T has boosted executive pay to their CEO and presidents and given them huge raises. And they have spent $1 billion less on their capital investment over each of the last 2 years. Let's have a field day on AT&T, shall we?
We've been in the chat.
And look, I don't care if you have AT&T wireless. I don't care if you have their Uverse. I don't care if you have TV. I don't care. This is the worst.
The rich get richer and the poor people get the shaft.
Dave, the executives are getting huge raises.
I know, and that's and they didn't cut jobs. What they did is they increased their revenue. Look at it that way.
They're laying people off. What do you mean?
That was a joke.
They could have put those people to work on the Telegraph. It's in their name.
So they promised that there were going to be 7,000 jobs created. Instead, they cut 23,000.
Sounds like something they do.
That's a 30,000 job swing.
They could have put them in a Sprint store. That would create jobs.
This is so frustrating. They're talking about how they're giving tower installers and maintenance crews these $70,000 to $80,000 jobs. Throw all that out the window. And then a guy like Randall Stevenson, the CEO, he goes from like 30 million to like 42 million. He got like a 30% raise.
Well, do you expect them to take a pay cut? Come on now.
They don't have to take a pay cut, but why don't you just do what you're saying you're going to do? You said you're going to create 7,000, not get rid of 23.
Because they don't care about people. They just care about their profits.
They got the tax relief. They could.
I know what they got.
This is killing me, man.
I know. I understand. I'm just saying.
Like in and of itself, like I would never do business with AT&T just because of this.
No, absolutely not. I have a personal vendetta against AT&T, and all of this stuff just gives me more fuel to the fire.
Do you guys know who my cable provider is, like my internet?
Comcast?
I have Cox.
Okay.
I hate them.
Enough.
I hate them, okay? However, even the hate I have for them does not compare to what I have for AT&T right now. Like, this is so aggravating. I'm, like, ranting right now. I'm just going off. But, like, people want to work, man. This is a sign of strength in the economy is when you're creating jobs. That is one of the biggest companies in the U.S. How many bigger companies are there than AT&T?
Is this after they bought Time Warner?
Well, okay, fine. Throw in the Time Warner acquisition. Go ahead.
Well, then
I'm just frustrated, man. I just want to see people working. I want to see the economy boosted. Trump's signing all these things for them to follow, and nobody's holding them accountable. How is the FCC not involved? How is the all these bureaus and these commissions for these employees? Where's the union support there? You know what I mean?
They say the economy is good, but by companies letting people go, that actually sends a different message if you think about it.
I'm done, man. I'm done with AT&T. I mean, it seems like every year I'm reporting some story. Like the channel is almost 2 years old, and I've at least 3 or 4 times covered a story on layoffs from AT&T. Verizon's not any bad. I mean, they're not as bad. Like Verizon, they buy out their older employees, like the 20 and 30-year veterans. They buy them out early retirement. They send them on their way because they don't want to pay them anymore. But they're not laying people off. I'm very aggravated, man. Let me go into the live chat. Let me see what's happening there. Rafael Perez says Sneed rants. Man, I'm not trying to sound like a crazy old man, but like,
Sneed
you
mobile
gotta have
rants.
people working, man.
So my last experience with AT&T was back where they did unlimited nights and weekends.
Wow.
And they told me, you know, the bill I ran up at nighttime, my night hours were 2 hours later than what they told me, and things like Saturday's not a weekend. So I'm like, I'm not going to use these guys. I'm not going to pray for their success. I just hope they fix their billing so people who are stuck with them can use them.
I don't know if you've heard my story with AT&T, Pete, but I'll quickly give you a summary. I lived out in the middle of nowhere, and they said that our service was great and that we had 4 and 5 bars, excellent service. And I called them and told them, no, we don't. Your coverage maps are lying. And they're like, oh, we'll send somebody out. Oh, we'll send somebody out. No one ever came out. And then I called them back again. It's like no one ever came out. And they're like, oh, yeah, we'll send you this device for $400. I'm like, no, I'll just leave your service. Thanks.
It's cheaper than what you'd spend on their service.
You know, the best thing that ever happened to AT&T was them getting their merger blocked with T-Mobile back in 2011.
Another good thing was John Ledger leaving.
Yeah, it paved the way for the Un-carrier. I mean, that's T-Mobile is what they are because of John Ledger, you know.
And being annoyed with their boardroom.
Speaking of which, I hope to Lord that John Ledger does not leave T-Mobile after this merger. That's part of the reason that I'm in favor of it, is because I know what he can do. I know that image that he inspires, and I hope
stories are brewing that he's leaving, Dave.
I hope not.
He sounds so motivated in his recent interviews. So thinking that he's leaving, I'm like, why is he so motivated about steering this boat if he's...
Well, do you know what his payout is on this merger?
Yeah.
I mean, part of it could be that he's going to leave on his own accord and he's just going to ride off into the sunset.
He deserved it.
He does, but I'm just afraid that if he leaves, that they're going to lose the image that they have of the Un-carrier image of that the guy wearing the magenta shirt and the biker jacket and everything, you know?
The ponytail.
I'm just afraid that they're going to lose that. I'm afraid they're going to lose touch with their demographic if they do that.
You know, I kind of feel like John's done enough for the company. I don't know if he feels obligated to stay post-merger. If he wanted to stay as an advisor, even if he's no longer the CEO, I think that still helps. I think that's part of the identification of the company. But if he's trying to get away from the whole day-to-day grind, maybe that's what it is. Maybe he just wants to be kind of like an unofficial spokesperson for the company and just kind of be more of a politician or an ambassador for the company.
Okay, if that's the case, that's fine. I just don't want to see him leave. Because if he leaves, I think we're going to have some problems.
Most of the directions at the moment, though, even with the merger, have been coming from the T-Mobile president, who looks like a German suit.
Oh, I forget his name. Is it? No, it's not Braxton Carter, is it?
Let me hit some Google.
I know the top 3 representatives for T-Mobile is John, Braxton, and Neville. Neville from the network side, John from the CEO side, and I think it's Braxton Carter is the president or something. I don't know. But yeah, like I think together the three of them are working very well. They seem to be in sync with one another. They're in, they're in line.
Sievert.
That's his name. Okay, so there's another guy. I try to keep track of these names. It's just a lot. But yeah, and actually, I didn't really plan on us going on this tangent. We could probably maybe talk about this next week or something. But I did want to get to the last piece from AT&T. AT&T's 5G pricing. I probably, again, could have did a video on this, but I think I'll just kind of treat it here on the podcast. AT&T has declared its 5G pricing approach. They say, and this is from the CEO, Randall Stevenson, it's going to be priced like fixed line, which means is that people are going to see the same thing that they've been paying for home services on 5G. So over the course of the next 2 or 3 years, it'll probably play out this way. It's going to be tiered pricing, and basically you're paying for whatever speeds you want. So maybe there'll be like a 250 meg and a 500 meg and a 1 full gig type of tiers, and that's how it's going to be priced.
So this month my bill will be $200. Next month it'll be $205. The next month it'll be $210, and so on and so forth.
Hey, it's only because of the administration fees.
Well, so fees and all that is, I mean, we know how AT&T does that, but I'm just talking about the actual tiers.
So the lower the tier,
all that stuff alone.
So Steve, what you're saying is the lower the tier, the higher the fee?
No, the higher the tier, the higher the fee.
No. The administration fee goes up when you're at the 5 meg limit.
And that's just the tiers that they're going to do on speed. All right, get ready for phase 2 of this.
Wait, are they adding increasing the line connect fee?
Probably.
Extra fees for nights and weekends?
Oh, man. All right, now you guys just running with this, all right? All right, so they're going to do tiered pricing for speed, and they're also going to do tiers on data caps.
Oh,
so 500. So listen, 100 gigs, 250 gigs, 500 gigs, 1,000 gigs. They'll be pricing it each way. So your plan is going to have 2 pieces to it. It's going to have how fast your internet is, and then how much internet you get.
Forget the third piece, the fees you get.
So double the fees.
So I could see T-Mobile going with their 5G pricing. You pay for unlimited. You might get deprioritized after 150 gigs, but have it be a deprioritization where when there's no congestion, you don't see it.
Yeah, AT&T is going hard. They're really.
I want to pay $600 a month for my 1 gigabit speed and a terabyte worth of data. Thanks.
That's not even a terabyte. That's 24 gigs less than a terabyte.
I think we could see this AT&T 5G, if you want to get like a full gig speed and get a full terabyte of usage, I could see it costing a couple $100.
That's what I want, man.
See it at like $200, $300. Seriously.
Is that before or after the 5G line access fee? And
hold on. So it's going to be the service for the speeds and the cap, and then throw in the fees and the taxes, and then line access fee, and then the network upgrade fee, and then the installation fee, and then the administration fee.
So my $500 phone bill is a dream come true.
I mean, it just sounds horrible, guys. I can tell you right now that pricing is going to be high. And if AT&T has any plan of getting customers on their 5G network, I don't think it's going to be utilized very much. I don't think they're going to be.
I'm going to place a bet, $5. I'll pay both of you $5 if AT&T does a fee to downgrade you to 3G speeds once you hit your data cap.
Mo Assad said, I'll be on 4G for a while. Yeah, he's not interested. Yep. I don't blame him, man. This pricing is outrageous. Raphael says, I'm really surprised that AT&T is still around. Raphael, AT&T I mean, who's more profitable and who has more of their tentacles all over the U.S.'s media and wireless and TV? Who's got more stretch?
Well, if they bleed customers like the last few quarters, like last year,
they were on promotion, so they don't count.
I don't know. They lost a lot of customers from, like the DirecTV Now side. That was a lot.
So
they lost in Uverse too. They lost on their TV side too, but they've been hemorrhaging DirecTV Now customers.
Didn't they lose like 300,000 wireless customers in one quarter once recently?
No, they actually added some wireless customers last quarter.
Well, I don't think it was this quarter. I think it was quarter before.
So here's what they do. They have a bad quarter wireless, and then the following quarter they run heavy promotions on buy one get one, so people upgrade their lines. And they add lines. So they'll add like a tablet line, like an iPad, or they'll add like another kid onto their family plan. Oh, well, they're giving me this free line. They're going to give me a buy one, get one on the Galaxy S10 or the iPhone X or whatever. And people will go ahead and upgrade, and they'll see a small spike. They'll add like 150,000.
So creative accounting.
That's all. But here's the thing is the next quarter, they're not going to have those deals, and they're going to lose them. The same numbers they gained in one quarter, they lose in the following quarter. So you take from one quarter to lose in another. That's all it is, essentially.
So a shell game.
Yeah.
Ponzi scheme.
Hey, I thought those were illegal since Clinton administration.
Okay.
Let's see here. John says, I don't need a buy one, get one. I mean, that's how they get people to stay on their network for so long. I mean, how many people out there upgrade their AT&T with a device and then they end up being locked down for 30 months? 30. 24 is bad enough, but these people are locked in at 30.
30?
Well, I don't know. T-Mobile's doing the same thing, but I think that's...
No. But they've been doing 30 just because. Like, the phone itself could be paid off in the same amount from Samsung, for example, at 24 months. So let's say it's $999 for a Samsung Galaxy Note 9 or something. Okay, let's say it's $1,000.
T-Mobile doesn't even, sure, you can go into a 36-month agreement on a phone with T-Mobile, but if you want to leave, they only charge you the remaining balance on the finance. They don't do an added fee for breaking the agreement.
That, and it's primarily because the phone's getting so expensive. I mean, $1,300 Galaxy S10 5G.
Hey, I bought a Pixel 3 XL and it cost me $960.
Did you finance yours through Google?
Yeah, but I only used it to add a positive credit line to my report.
I like the idea of having the Pixel 3A.
And I just got my 3A XL, man, and I'm loving it. I'm not liking the way that these prices are on these phones. I've been using this phone for about a week, 2 weeks, and it's been amazing. I'm staying away from expensive phones for two reasons. One is that you have to finance them because I just don't have that type of fluid cash. And two, there's no return on investment. When I'm done with this phone, it's only going to be worth a couple $100. So why would I spend $1,000 to have a phone worth $200? I'll just pay cash for something at about the $400 to $500 range. It'll be worth a couple $100 when I'm done with it.
Absolutely. It's like a car. Why buy a new car?
The only thing that I don't like, honestly, is I want wireless charging, and I know that I have to pay a flagship price to get wireless charging.
Jamil, sorry. You get a $2 tip from Jamil, and I can't read Arabic.
Let's see here. What is going on here? We got in the live chat, we got a super chat from Jamil Aliasini. I hope I said that right. It's all the names in English, and then it's written in Arabic. Thank you, Jamil. I appreciate that, Habibi. Thank you so much. Super chat. I mean, we always got to give big ups to the super chats. Let's see here. What else is going on in the live chat? Raphael says, I'm staying under 500 with phones now. Tom says, my $500 phone will be worth $50 in 2 years. Oh, yeah, that's not a good return.
But you can buy $300 or $400 phones that are really just as good nowadays. People wonder why people aren't upgrading. It's because the phones are so expensive.
Pixel 3A.
Exactly. Take a look at these $400 phones. They're just as good as your $1,000. My OnePlus 6 here, when I bought it, cost me $600, and the Pixel 2 was like 800 or 900. This thing has the same exact SoC as the Pixel 2, and it's just as good.
Well, let me bring this back a little bit. There's no denying that the Pixel 3 XL that Pete has is a better phone than the Pixel 3A or the Pixel 3A XL. It's undeniable. His phone is better. The problem is are we really pushing our phones to the max to where we need all of that heavy lifting? So if you're doing any type of video rendering or editing software or whatever, then yeah, maybe you want to go at the high end. But if you're a social media app user, if you're a YouTube person, I mean, as long as you're getting a 1080p display and the apps are running on your phone, like you've got a decent processor, I mean, it's good to go.
No lie, I got the 3XL to order Chinese food for me.
Oh, there you go with the what, Google Duplex?
Duplex.
There you go.
Yeah, it's pretty nice, man. I'm actually looking to sell my Pixel 2a XL. I like my 3a XL that much. I'm actually going to sell my 2XL. And my 2XL has a Snapdragon 835. It's faster, but my Pixel 3a XL it's good enough. All right. Anyways, before we get too far away with this, I think this one is this is the last story for the podcast. We have the Huawei Band. So big shout out to Rafael Perez in the chat. This story is for you. The Huawei Band. I don't really feel the need to tread lightly. I know this is a bit of a political story, but I think I have most of the factual evidence to support what I'm about to say. So basically, Huawei's been banned from the U.S. The sales of their devices, including smartphones, they pretty much kind of banned them from it. Now, they've since amended that ban and gave them like a 90-day license to operate kind of thing, like an extension. But for the most part, Huawei is going to be losing their ability to operate with Google services, Android, Microsoft, ARM chips. I mean, they're being disabled overall in terms of network and technology in the U.S. This is not really about cell phones, though, and it's more about 5G. So, you know, network infrastructure is really what it's about.
It's not really even 5G with that.
Well,
it's the China trade deal.
Exactly.
I was watching an episode of Front Page Tech. Shout out to John and Brian. And they were talking about this Huawei ban, and they actually showed a clip of the president talking about that Huawei could possibly be included in some trade deal. So all they're banning Huawei for is leverage. They're like, we're going to ban Huawei so that you, China, will come to the table, and then if we get a trade deal worked out, we'll put them in the deal and they'll be unbanned. That's the only reason they're doing it. It's leverage.
So here's the quote, Dave. I got it right here in front of me. You read my mind. This is the exact quote from the President of the United States, Donald Trump. His quote is, Huawei is dangerous. Security is an issue and it puts us at risk. Literally, the next sentence he said was, I can see Huawei being included in a trade deal.
So if they're dangerous, why would they be in a trade deal?
What the hell was that?
It's because they're a firm with membership on their board with the CCP. So if you can get China's government under your foot, you can have some subservience to their telecom companies.
So, like, when I make the statement that this is not about phones, it really is not. Huawei is number one worldwide in a lot of different tech hardware applications. So, if you want the up-and-coming 5G network infrastructure to be accelerated, you need Huawei. You need them for radios. You need them for transmitters. You need them for nodes. You need them for tower equipment. The phones isn't even an issue. It's all the other stuff. They're like number one when it comes to network infrastructure for capacity, performance, and then pricing. What are you going to do? You're going to source everything from Ericsson?
For now, until they lose access to the ARM chips that provide the processing power for those 5G nodes, and they don't have any processors because they can't use Intel, they can't use ARM, they can't use AMD. They're gonna have to make their own chips.
Qualcomm is a phone radio provider, not a antenna radio creator.
I just don't understand how Huawei is being like they're like a sacrificial lamb in this, because like OnePlus is operating just fine out of Shenzhen. I don't see them having issues. So I can clearly see this is like a simple political ploy. This is the president forcing Huawei up against the wall, forcing them to make or take a deal, and disabling their power internationally. They are saying that there's ties to the Chinese government. There's no proof of espionage. There's claims, but there's no proof. I see this more of like a power move, hiding the true motivation of what they're trying to do here. It's 100% political. There's no proof of anything yet. It's just speculation, and I think it covers and masks the truth that the issue is that Huawei is trying. What they're basically doing is they're trying to be a roadblock to Huawei, and they're trying to boost U.S. economy somehow, some way. This is a political power move, honestly. So I don't know. I don't know when that deal is going to be made. I know there's going to be a deal. They're not going to completely disable Huawei, but saying that there's a security risk and there's espionage, that's just to bring cost down. It really is just, they're just trying to get the upper hand.
There is one simple way, and Huawei could easily do this. Open source their stuff. If the security auditor can find no backdoors in their commercially released systems or phone home updates that could enable backdoors, then it is total bunk.
Well, when you take a country that is so technologically advanced, well, like we're going to qualify the U.S. there, you wouldn't be able to identify any type of backdoor flaws, security issues?
I do that. I try to find those all the time in a lab.
I mean, are they visible? I mean, how well hidden are they if there are some?
When you find them, you easily find them.
Yeah, I don't buy some of the whole espionage thing. I feel like some of that is just made up and fabricated.
No, they're never going to open source their stuff though either, so I never see that happening.
I don't know. I don't buy the entire story when the president says one thing out of this side of his mouth and then 5 seconds later says this out of the other side of his mouth. It just doesn't pass the smell test.
Probably be better for us all if he just shut it.
But yeah, I mean, I could see them making a deal pretty soon, and Huawei kind of goes back to running business as usual. But I think they won't be as profitable as they would have been. Like they've been leading the way on 5G, and they're not going to want to let this or any type of ban get in their way of their progress.
Yeah, that's why we left this for the last.
And yeah, you know what, Mo, you're right. Like Mo in the chat says, a lot of people left because I started talking about Trump. I'm not saying anything political. There's nothing I'm saying that's like against any type of political party. I'm just saying that when somebody says one thing and then a minute later says something different, I mean, of course it's going to raise eyebrows. I mean, you have to question the motivation there.
Get started on Trump in the chat.
Fake news.
I I only really get political over a Jeep Pie personally.
Well, him and the president are pretty tight. They seem to be hand in hand. I saw that. I don't know if you guys caught that. It was, what was that, about 2 months ago, when they had that whole 5G commission meeting, and they had all the congregation of like the cell phone towers unions there, and they had all these people there. It was really funny. Ajit Pai was there. It was like a conference basically, and they were buddy over there. They're very, very friendly.
They were dressed up in clown costumes, putting on a circus.
I wonder if he had that big Reese's cup mug that he's always flashing.
I'm looking for a bigger one than his, like John Oliver has.
Let's see here. Jamil says they don't need to open source their code. They already give U.S. government access to their code. They found nothing. I mean, there you have it. So they are being very transparent in their operations. What else do you need? John M. says, this is a quote from President Trump. I want 5G and 6G, 7G, 8G, 9G.
Wow, how did we get up to 9G? I forgot the deployment of 8.
We stuck a sticker to our smartphone that said 9G on it.
Yeah, I remember that. They put that little sticky note thing up there.
Well, they were making fun of AT&T's 5GE, so John's like, I can do one better, and he took a phone and stuck the 9G sticker to it.
Yeah, Gary says, I want 100G.
Hey, that 9G was still faster in some markets.
JG Tech Blog says you got to give it to him. That was a smart negotiating technique to get China on the table. Yeah, ban them, affect their business operations. Come on and make a deal, man, or you're going to stay banned. Let's see here. Marty says, I don't do the credit thing. If I don't have the cash, I don't get it. Must be talking about the smartphone prices.
I don't blame you. That's a good way to be.
Well, I mean, if you never want to have debt, you never buy anything you can't afford if you don't have the cash for it.
Debt is another form of slavery. If you don't want to be a slave, don't buy anything on credit. It's a good way to live.
I got to give a special shout out to a very special girl in my life, Yasmin. She's says hi, so I had to make sure I give her a special shout out. Hi, Yasmin.
Hi, Yasmin.
That's my daughter, just so you guys know.
Oh, hi.
She's the whole reason for the channel. It's all her fault.
All right, we got my biggest fan ever. The dude Abdullah is in the house. I think I know who that is. Abdullah, isn't it past your bedtime? Raphael says, I refuse to get any more $1,000 phones. I think my most expensive phone was the OG Pixel. I think it was $749. I got the 128 gig storage one.
I think mine was Pixel 2.
What was your Pixel 2? Was it about $749?
Yeah, $749, $849, something like that. I won't do it again.
I think, Pete, you're in a Pixel 3 XL right now?
Yeah, but it was a business purchase, so that's financed differently.
Yep.
What was I going to say? Are you upgrading this year or next year?
No.
And I know that you're running a OnePlus 6, right?
Yeah, I'm running OnePlus 6.
I'm waiting to
go with the Galaxy next, guys. I'm thinking about getting a Note.
I tried some Samsung devices recently, and the bloatware they put on them, like, give me a Google Play edition and I'll...
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. My problem is the darn bloatware and the darn software updates. Another reason I'll never buy an LG. Take a look at their software update schedule. I'm sorry, but I want to be secure, and I want to know that I'm getting the updates to my device. And well,
Samsung does do security updates.
They do, but they do them like so far out of date. They might push an April security patch in June.
Yeah, they bunch them up in like 3-month increments.
See, I don't like that. I don't like all this Android bloatware stuff. It's like Google makes the OS. Give me the standard OS and let me put what I want on it. That's out of the scope of this channel, so I won't rant on about that. But
well, I think the problem is Samsung's got so many devices that they run thin.
Well, then make it easier on yourself and put Google Play on it. Like, just put standard stock Android on it.
God,
Come
man,
on.
play editions. I used to love those things, man.
Another Dave brings up a good point. I work in cybersecurity. If I have a phone that looks like 3 months out of date, it doesn't look good for my reputation.
Somebody in the chat, Noel Martinez, says my iPhone 10R was $800.
Yep.
He's got the S10. Let's see what else they got. John M has the Note 8. So we've got people with premium phones in the chat.
Yeah, an iPhone 10R, which is the lowest cost iPhone, $800, which is more than every iPhone before it. And they say that's the inexpensive one.
Dave, hold on. The iPhone 10R is the entry-level new phone, but they're still selling 8s.
Oh, it's entry level. That makes it better. That makes me want to pay $800. Okay, I understand.
That was $800 entry level.
$600 you could. You can get a brand new iPhone from Apple for like $500-$600. You're just buying a 2-year-old phone.
I can buy 2 Pixel 3As and have one for me and one for my fiance for the same price. Oh, yeah. I'd rather buy an iPhone though. Thanks.
But hey, the Pixel 3As, you can actually fix it without going to Apple Store.
I know, right? But we can't have that, can we?
Your wife will love it.
In the chat, somebody was talking about Motorola, and they said, why are unlocked Motorola's so popular? Because unlocked Motorola's have every LTE radio band. They work on every single carrier, and they run a very stock operating system.
And you can unlock and flash the bootloaders and put custom ROMs on them.
Motorola's are amazing for that.
They are. They're not good with software updates on the stock ROMs.
They used to be.
They used to be. They're not anymore. When they were owned by Google, they were.
Yeah, they were.
Now that they're owned by Lenovo, that is not the case anymore.
Hey, so you get the AOSP updates.
If you want fast updates, you flash a custom ROM like Lineage or Pixel Experience or something like that on it.
Yeah, and get AOSP updates.
Mm-hmm. That's what I always do with my Motorola's. I don't even use the stock software. I immediately wipe them when I buy them.
Wonder has an S9. TomTom's got the LG G7. So it looks like everybody's got a flagship for the most part, but they're a year or two old.
So I used to flash the ROMs and whatnot until I realized my required banking apps stopped working with flashed ROMs.
You know, Jamil brings up a good point. He says, I've got a family plan of 9 lines on AT&T to T-Mobile, but they are on 24-month contracts on 6 of his phones. He says it's difficult to move and migrate so many lines to a different carrier. He's right. When people start upgrading, nobody's got the same upgrade date. You can't just do like a mass exodus onto a new carrier.
I tell the people on my T-Mobile account, my business account, they can't go to T-Mobile for an upgrade. They have to go to me. I will finance a phone for them if they want a special phone, but they have to go through me. I'll buy it outright, and if for whatever reason we need to switch, we have an unlocked phone.
Right. They would continue to pay you back.
Yeah.
Walmart, according to Cameron, Walmart sells the iPhone 8 for $649. Not bad if you want to get an iPhone. M. Keller says, I have an S9 and a Pixel 3 XL. What else we got in here? Tim Gall has Pixel 3 XL and the iPhone XS Max. There's a lot of people in here with some flagship devices, man. They're spending the buku bucks.
That guy that's got the Pixel 3 XL and the iPhone XS Max, I want some of your money.
Hey, I can do math. That's $2,000.
No, that's $2,300.
Okay, all right.
I need some of that money, man.
So that whoever that guy is, Tim Gall. I mean, Hey, man, get a donation to the channel, a little something, something, man.
Yeah, just feel free to send the cut Sneed a check for like a couple grand, and he'll split it with the rest of us.
Hey, I'll just take a super chat. That's all I need.
Hey, you could upgrade your internet more if you got that.
But then Google will take 30% of it.
Upgraded my internet.
Yeah, and you told me if you spent 30 more, you can get a better upload.
Right now, I'm getting 300 megs on the download, and I'm getting 30 on the upload. There's only one plan that's better, and it's the full gig. It's a gig download, and it's 100 upload.
30's fine up.
Yeah, I don't have any problems uploading. I mean, you guys can tell me in the chat how the quality is on the stream. I mean, it seems okay.
I'm never gonna go back since I started having 1 gig up.
I don't even know what that would be like, man.
I don't even know what I would use that for. I love technology. I mean, okay, I'm a tech nerd. I love technology, and I don't know what the heck I'd use that kind of speed for. I just don't know.
Well,
I use it for remote administration.
Standard.
What's up?
When 4K becomes standard, you'll be glad that you have these speeds.
4K.
I use the gig for remote administration, sending operating system, custom configured operating systems, and
okay, that I get. Then I'm just thinking your standard YouTuber or like Facebook person. It's like a gig up is nonsense. If you're sending 900 or a gig operating systems to people or more, I could understand that.
If you're a Facebook user, you don't need more than 15 megs a second.
Mm-mm. Well, really, every person in a household or in whatever should have 3 megabit per second to themselves. So if you have a household of 3 people, you should have 9 megabit.
If you're a standard person.
Yeah, if you're a standard person. I think that's what I heard somewhere was saying, that you should have at least 3 megabit a second per person.
I've had a DSL guy tell me that, so I didn't believe him.
Wait, 3 megs download?
Yeah, 3 megs down is what you should have per person at a minimum.
No.
At a minimum.
Okay, was this like last year maybe, or the year before?
No, last year.
Was he trying to sell you DSL?
No. They weren't trying to sell me anything. I read it somewhere in an article, and it actually makes sense, because 3 megs a second is going to be enough for you to do VoIP like Google Duo or Skype or WhatsApp or stuff like that. Right. It's going to be enough for you to watch 1080p video. So I can see why they said it. That was also at a minimum. They said 3.
Well, here's the thing about that number, 3 megabits per second. So Verizon caps me at 3.7 megabits per second. Let's just say 4 on video. I can't get a consistent stream of a 1080p video on YouTube without it buffering at 3.7 to 4 megabits per second. So YouTube's not able to do it. I think probably 5 would be better. I feel like 3 is a little bit on the low end. I don't know. I guess it depends on the software, though, and I think it depends on the app.
Here we are cutting teeth, and I know people who get 3 megabit a second to share for the entire family of like 4 or 5.
I don't even know how they do it, man.
Neither do I.
I mean, I had 3 megabits per second on the upload, and I couldn't even do a decent Hangouts, live stream.
I think I'd cry.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, but some people's needs are less. I know I've given a shout out in the live chat. M. Keller has, given several comments in different videos, and he has very average needs. He just needs to be connected. He doesn't need anything crazy, and he feels like a lot of what people are getting is overkill. But I think what he doesn't consider is that some people, like in Pete's case, they really do need that throughput, and they're messing with huge, enormous files that have to be sent, in a timely and efficient way. And if you're going to be doing any type of 4K streaming, 30 megabits per second on the download is a bare minimum if you're going to have multiple devices connected to a network.
Will 5G allow us to be able to do internet bandwidth fast enough that if you actually make a backup of a lot of data, that they'll actually be able to pull it back down over the internet. Because if you did like 300 gigs of a backup or something like that, like to some of these like cloud storage services, and you want to actually download it, instead of giving you a download, they'll take your address and they'll send you a hard drive in the mail because it's faster.
No way.
They will actually send you a physical hard disk in the mail
Than to actually do the over-the-air?
to do the over-the-air, because it's faster to mail you the disk, have you copy the data, and then wipe it and send it back to them than it is to actually do the download.
I gotta admit it, man. That made me laugh a little bit.
A lot of those storage services do that.
I mean, I personally think if there's going to be any type of a broadband connection, I think everybody should be able to get 50 megs as entry level. You know, if it's a family. I mean, if you've got just one device connected and you want to go with 10 megs, fine. But if you're running a Chromecast, if you're running a laptop, an iPad, a couple of phones that are connected to Wi-Fi, I mean, 50 megs, that's kind of where it needs to start.
I think we should go back to bulletin boards and flip phones.
Nah. Can't go backwards, man.
I know, right?
At my school, I believe they downgraded their service. They used to get like gigabit speed, and like it was symmetrical. It was like full gig download, full gig upload, and then I don't know if it was pricing or provider, but they downgraded their plan, and I could tell, like, even when I'm the only device on the network, I'm only getting like 200 megabits per second. And I wonder if it's just network management or what. But I mean, you're thinking
is that over Wi-Fi or Ethernet?
Every student has a Chromebook at that school. Good
for them. Is that Wi-Fi or Ethernet that you're getting 200 meg down?
That's Wi-Fi.
Try a speed test on a desktop or something Ethernet connected.
I could do it. Something tells me that the wire is going to be faster.
Those Chromebooks might be bottlenecking the Wi-Fi.
Well, not only that, but just Wi-Fi in general can be like slower just in general. Because, like, for example, we had at my old office building, we had great, we had a gig up and a gig down, and the Wi-Fi routers would, even connected to the gig ports, would only get us like 200 or 300 up and down.
Well, I could tell you right now, I'm probably about 5 or 6 feet from my router, and I'm supposed to get 300 megabits per second on download. And I'll just run a speed test right now. I'm on the network, and I'll show you guys what I get here.
Just make sure to stop it before the upload starts, or you'll kill your connection.
Yeah. I get about 30, but like you could see, it's like 150. I don't know. Can you guys get a? Yep. Yeah, that's
152, 153.
Yeah. And then on the upload, I should be getting close to 30.
See a 45.
Let's see here. I don't know if it's there. We're in about 30, 29, 30. So like,
hold on a second. Let me get my cell phone.
But like, I'm 6 feet away from it. I'm on the 5 gigahertz channel, and I'm getting like half of what I'm paying for in terms of wireless. But on the wire, I am getting the 300. So when I connect my Xbox to live, I'm getting the 300 megabits per second. And the ping is good. I'm like down under 20, which is not bad.
Ouch. That
you
looks
use
awful.
Speedtest.net for that?
I use Ookla.
Yeah, speedtest.net.
Who's your provider, Dave?
I'm using the apartment building's Wi-Fi network. And it looks like, oh no, it didn't fail. I thought it failed. 84 down and 97 up. That's not too bad.
How's mine looking?
160.
And here's my upload.
Yeah,
how's that looking?
Those are pretty good speeds. I mean, there's nothing you can't do with that type of speed. You know what I mean?
My desktop, I get 980 up.
Yeah, you've got that symmetrical gig, man.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I think what we're going to do with this last couple of minutes is I don't know if anybody has any questions or comments that they want to just kind of randomly get to before we close things out. We've been on for a while. I don't know. We covered every single topic that I wanted to get to. I don't know if there's anything else you guys want to bring up.
No, we hit a couple things we weren't planning.
No, I think we got pretty much everything.
All right, guys. Well, if that pretty much caps it off, I think we'll leave it at that. I want to thank everybody that was here in the live chat for all the comments, all the questions, joining us here. I'd also like to thank anybody that watches this after it's been recorded. Thank you guys so much for your continued support on the YouTube channel. I want to give a special shout out to all of the members on the Patreon side. Numbers wise, we're up to about 10 members on the Patreon side. Very happy to see the growth there. Good community. We've got members of the Discord. Special shout out to those guys. It's been a lot of fun on the Discord server. If you'd like to participate in any of those things, support on the Patreon side, support on the Discord server, I'll put links in the description box below as soon as this video is uploaded, and you guys can get connected that way. I want to also give a special thanks to Dave from Dave B's Tech for joining us tonight, and I want to give a special shout out to Pete. If you guys want to kind of plug or give a shout out to anybody or any organization for what you guys are doing, now's your opportunity. Pete, go ahead if you'd like.
I'd like to give a shout out to the CU Boulder TCP department. I have a fellowship there in cybersecurity.
Awesome. And Dave, anything for you?
I don't really have anything.
All right. Well, we've got Dave B's Tech joined us. We've got Pete. He joined us. These are the regulars here on the podcast. I want to thank them both again for being here. I want to thank all of you guys for your continued support on the YouTube channel. We've got expected news from the Sprint and T-Mobile merger either this week or next week. So make sure you guys stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed already, go ahead and do that and make sure
that like button.
What's that?
Mash that like button.
Yeah, and go ahead and always make sure you like the Sneed Mobile Tech YouTube videos. Always. You got to do that. And that pretty much wraps it up. So thank you guys again for tuning in. For Pete, for Dave, and for Sneed himself. We'll leave it at that. Thank you guys again for tuning in, and we will see you guys on the next podcast.
Hold up. One last thing.
Oh, go ahead.
What's going on here? We only have 42 likes.
Oh, where's all the likes, man? I thought we were getting the likes in the live chat. Before you guys leave, go ahead and smash the like button.
Peace.
Later, guys. Peace.
Yeah.